In this question, we need to determine the equation of a linear function h of x if h of 2 equals negative 2 and h of 4 equals negative 1. The key term in this question is the word linear function. This means that we can apply y equals mx plus b. But in order to use y equals mx plus b, we need a few coordinates from our graph. We can find this from h of 2 equals negative 2 and h of 4 equals negative 1. When h of 2 equals negative 2, that's saying that when x equals 2, y equals negative 2. So we have our first coordinate. And then looking at h of 4 equals negative 1, this tells us that when x equals 4, y equals negative 1. So now we have our second coordinates. So using these coordinates, let's find our slope. We know that our slope, m, is rise over run. But we also know that it can be our change in y over our change in x. And to find our change in y, we take y2 minus y1, and then our change in x is x2 minus x1. Looking at our coordinates, our first 2 is x1, and then our second negative 2 is y1, because it's in the first set of brackets. And then this 4 is x2, and this negative 1 is y2. So knowing this, let's plug in what we know into our values. y2 is negative 1, and then minus y1, which is negative 2. x2 is 4, and then x1 is 2. So now we have negative 1 plus 2 over 4 minus 2. Well, negative 1 plus 2 is 1, and then 4 minus 2 is 2. So our slope, m, equals 1/2. Now that we have our slope, we need to find our b or y-intercept. So filling in what we know, we have y equals 1/2 x plus b. In this equation, we have three unknowns. We have y, x, and b. But if we go back to our question, we have h of 2 equals negative 2 and h of 4 equals negative 1. And both of these produce two different coordinates. So therefore, we can use any one of these sets of coordinates to solve for b. So I'm just going to use the 2 and negative 2. So whenever I see a y, I'm going to replace it with a negative 2. And wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 2. And then now we just have to solve for b. Well, 1/2 times 2 is 1. And then to get b by itself, I'm going to subtract 1 to both sides. And I get negative 3 equals b. So now we know our slope, and we know our y-intercept, so we can plug these into our equation of y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals m, our slope of 1/2, x, plus our y-intercept of negative 3. So y equals 1/2 x minus 3 is our equation to the linear function h of x.